Hello, everybody. It's great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fowler. I'm the CEO and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company I co-founded with Dr. David Zhang. We believe at GST that intellectual capacity is evenly spread, but opportunities are not. Today, my exciting guest you see here, Yogi, is here, Goel, and we're going to be talking about another episode of GST Presents, where we're going to dive into one of the most overlooked but critically important areas of enterprise transformation: accounting and finance operations. For decades, finance team has operated in a backward-looking world dominated by spreadsheets, manual reconciliations, month-end chaos, and endless retrospective reporting. But what happens when AI agents begin to automate not only just workflows, but decision making itself? My guest today is someone uniquely qualified to answer that question. Joining me today is Yogi Goel, the co founder, CEO, and CFO of Maxima. He spent more than 2 decades serving the office of the CFO across accounting, banking, strategic finance, M&A, and enterprise leadership. He began his career at Ernst & Young before moving into Wall Street roles at Citigroup and Barclays, helping companies navigate IPOs and major transactions. Later, he joined Rubrik when it was just $5 million in ARR and helped scale it to roughly $900 million in ARR, ultimately leading to its IPO on the New York Stock Exchange in 2024. Now, with Maxima, Yogi is tackling one of the biggest opportunities in enterprise AI, transforming accounting from reactive grunt work into intelligent, real-time, agentic automation. Today, we're going to explore the future of the CFO office, AI native finance organizations, autonomous accounting agents, real-time closes, enterprise trust in AI, and how startups can reinvent massive legacy workflows. With that, Yogi's here. So hi, Yogi.
Hey, Gary. What an honor to be getting to meet you and be on your show.
Yeah, it's great having you here. So you've had a fascinating journey from auditing at EY to Wall Street, then scaling Rubrik through hypergrowth and IPO. What experiences most shape your understanding of the pain points inside the office of the CFO?
Yeah, I would say, an overnight epiphany earned over 20 years. I have been on all three sides of accounting and finance, first as an auditor, then as a Wall Street banker, and then third as an operator, where I was leading finance and accounting for a public company, as you mentioned. And I saw over and over again that accounting and finance was one of those things which had problems all around, where the people were doing so much manual work that they were quitting their jobs to get back and neck fixes. They were working, easily 80 to 100 hours a week on a repeat mundane things, essentially getting data from one source, transforming it in a regular template, and then getting it uploaded somewhere else. And this work was happening 12 times a month, and infinite ad infinitum. And it was not like the human work was great. If you look into public companies out there, last year was one of the largest number of public companies who had to restate their financials, and who had errors in their financials. And there are tens of companies I can talk about: Archer Daniel Midlands, Kyndryl, which is an IBM spinoff, uh, and many of them have had 30 to 40% stock drops because there were errors. So it's not like the current manual work is working. And the last thing is the cost and inefficiency of it. I've been on finance leadership roles, and the CFOs don't want to spend 2 to 3% of the revenue on accounting and finance. They would rather spend on innovation. Uh, and the work that they were getting was pretty delayed. One CFO really put it really nicely to me. They were like, in these days of tariffs and Hormuz price rises and all the chaos that we see, I'm getting data from accounting uh, at least 15 to 20 days late. It's kind of like I'm driving a plane in the hurricane, and I'm getting a weather report from 15 days ago. I need real time finance. I need real time accounting so that we can make differences. And we are today delivering it for our customers, like Scale AI, like Rippling. They have to get their financial cash flow profitability data on a day-to-day basis, because then on the next day basis they can go and hire more people, or they can order a lot more GPUs to really gain the competitive advantage. Unfortunately, too much of the time is being spent in just kind of looking backwards and doing some sort of putting together reporting, which is actually pretty bad. And we are looking to solve that problem.
Most people outside finance don't realize how manual and fragmented accounting operations still are. What's broken in the traditional monthly close process?
Yeah, I think the biggest problem is that the transacting systems are all disparate. You have banks moving your money, you have payroll systems which are distinct, you have cash flow, you have credit card systems, and so on. There are about 10 to 15 systems. And then you have a stodgy old database called System of Record, or ERP, which is a standardized digital shelf made for every single company out there. But humans are the ones who are taking the financial money movement transactions and dumping into ERP as per their company specific regulation, their company specific accounting policies. And that's one thing that most people from finance and accounting don't understand, um, who are from outside the finance and accounting, who don't understand. The second problem is inside the ERP, or inside the system of record, you essentially have a room full of M&Ms. It's just data overload, and you are supposed to find out which one is the odd color out. Uh, Nobody knows what's going on, and people are certifying the financial statements with the cross of a finger. And this is a unique place where agents can take the repeat mundane action on a deal by daily as transactions happen, as the money moves, and agents and AI can figure out the anomalies, figure out the improvement areas. You wouldn't believe, I have had customers who have been paying rent for their France office without realizing there were no employees left in France. They had all been fired, or they had situations where there were salespeople in Michigan, or some particular state, who were spending $50,000 in T&E without realizing, without them doing any customer meeting. They were essentially doing unsavory stuff, and there's no way to figure that out, because inside a corporation, the the numbers and that transaction money is just sloshing around. It's like a huge heap of data, and for someone to really figure out what's broken is simply not humanly possible anymore.
In terms of corporations, there's about 176 zettabytes of data on the planet. If we took DVDs or CDs on one on top of another, it would today go 128 times between the Earth and the Moon. It's grown at 69.6% and per year, and so we call that corporate infobesity. And the
Yep.
problem is, we don't know what we don't know, and so we need these tools on a real-time, continuously sensing basis that can help us to be able to find out where the holes are and how to fix them, and more importantly, to do it before it's a problem, right? So be able to
Exactly.
forecast using self-learning models, et cetera. At what point did you realize that AI agents could fundamentally transform accounting rather than just incrementally improve workflows?
Yeah. So I took an early bet on this. So I decided to, around 2024, when AI agents were not a thing, I could see that the model's interpretation ability was getting better and better, from previously, figuring out cat versus dog on a picture, to then writing prose, and then obviously figuring out numbers and explaining numbers. That was a big breakthrough. The next thing I saw that uh, um, the models were able to write code, and once you can write code, then you can create new skills and create new instructions. So that was the point where I felt it was a game changer, because then it started giving the AI infinite capability to teach it new skills, accounting specific skills. It could be reconciliation skills, skills to find anomalies. And that was sort of my early bet that what you will see is these domain specific capabilities and skills that you can then train on corporate data, which is not available anywhere in the open wide world. And you can then give it to the customers to do the job.
Eva's just writing me right now. She was going back and forth. She said she said just something that's quite interesting, right? If you look at it, um, a $10 million AR company once needed 10 to 20 finance staff. A future native using your solution and 100 million AR may operate a fraction of that infrastructure. The
Yep.
future AI native CFO office could resemble a handful of senior finance strategists supervising fleets of specialized AI agents running continuously updated real-time financial systems. So, do you believe we're approaching a future where the office of the CFO becomes an AI command center where humans supervise autonomous financial agents rather than manually performing accounting workflows themselves?
Yeah, 100%. And it's happening today with our customers. So our customers are iconic companies like Zendesk, like Rippling. We have public company customers like Group ADP, um, who are using this today, where they are essentially taking Maxima agents and prompting them to do the task. And whenever the agent gets stuck, and it's rare, it's going to ask the humans. So in a way, we have given their strategic lean staff
Yeah.
an army of unlimited junior accountants who are just performing on the instruction. And the instructions are given in English language, as if you are hiring as you were giving it to a new hire. Get data from here, uh, transform it in this way, create journal entries like this, post it, and then validate it or reconcile it. And it just works like magic every single day. And it maintains audit trails to ensure that when auditors come knocking, you know exactly to show that the work got done with the human in the loop.
Yeah. So she just started doing calculations using your tools, right? And she said at a reasonable enterprise level estimate, based on what she knows about your software for fully implemented agentic accounting automation, there could be a 30 to 50% reduction in traditional accounting operations headcount, and in some highly standardized environments, potentially 67% reduction over time.
Yep.
And she started looking at variables like company complexity, regulatory requirements, international operations, ERP fragmentation, audit compliance. And so she said that if you look at it, Yogi, she said accounts payable, receivable, reconciliations, close management, data entry, reporting preparations, audit, could have the biggest reductions
Yep.
in short order. So she says a traditional company with 100 finance accounting personnel could eventually operate with 40 to 70, handling more transactions, faster closes, real time reporting. She loves what you're doing and better compliance visibility, right? And it doesn't
Yep.
eliminate the CFO, controllers, treasury leadership, strategic finance, investor relations, high level FP&A. It primarily compresses repetitive transact. No, she loves it. She's actually diving into it right now while we're talking about it. It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Our
Can you?
message to the companies is grow revenue, not headcount, right? So,
Mhm.
based on my experience at Rubrik and many other companies, what I would normally see is 3 to 4% of the revenue was spent on accounting and finance workflows. So let's say for a company which is $1 billion in revenue is spending 30 to 40 million dollars on accounting and finance. And within that, if you double click it, there is 90% is spent on payroll. So sort of somewhere between 25 to $30 million is spent in payroll. And this is explained by the number of uh, payroll full-time people have to keep throwing. I have seen situations where companies going public had to had 90 to 100 people organizations. At companies like Unilever, you have a couple of thousand people team who are doing this repeat mundane work. And you see the revenues of companies like outsource companies like Genpact and Accenture and the big fours. You will see that so much of payroll spend is done to just do the repeat mundane work. And our customers who are hiring us, companies like Glean, companies like Scale AI, Spot On, and others, their CFO's mandate was, I want to double my revenue without adding any single person to the team. And even the team that should be left, that should be working, should be doing all value added work. So let's think about what is those strategic work. I think finance and accounting team have only two jobs. One, to maximize the long-term shareholder value, long-term finance profile of the company. In fact, that's why we called our company Maxima. And the second is to reduce the financial risk or the regulatory risk of the company, and look for unknown unknowns. The reality is, most of the time, 70 to 80% of the time, is doing in these repeat things that Eva talked about, and nobody wants to do that. In fact, I don't know if you know, but right now in the United States, or in the world over, there's a record deficit of the number of people going into accounting. Wall Street Journal had a lot of reports out there that people have stopped going into the CPA program. There's about 300,000 empty positions, and because nobody wants to do this repeat work. I studied finance and accounting in college, and I worked at Big Four. I don't want to do this repeat mundane work. I want to sit with my head of product and figure out how to package a new software offering. I want to sit with my head of supply chain and figure out how can I not just source things from China, but also from Vietnam and India. I want to work with my head of tax and reduce my tariffs. So these are the things that our customers are moving towards, and we believe
that exactly, Yogi. Just so you know, I do exactly what you're doing, but I do it with Eva because she's connected to everything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so we sit down, and we have those conversations. So instead of going to those people, what I've been able to do is hyper streamline it. Like, and you can't imagine when you course correct that fast within an organization, because organizations have structural inefficiencies too, dramatic. And it's, you know, the old days of a meeting for a meeting and all the BS bullshit politics that go on. You've seen it, right? It's unbelievable. And, you know, we've got to go down through and optimize. Here's the one thing. So Eva just said to me, she said, what happens to all those people? What are your recommendations for those people that are in those repetitive task positions in those accounting companies? What should be doing now to retool themselves?
Yeah, I think two things. One, get comfortable and familiar with how to operate the AI tools. It's as simple as back in the day, back in Stone Ages when folks were digging or farming their land with hands or sticks, and then somebody figured out how to do it with the till. You just have to learn how to operate the till, because otherwise your yields won't be great. So just get comfortable, and a lot of that comes with usage, just like you are doing it. You are basically garage tinkered your way out of it. I'm sure you didn't take a course. I mean, you can take a course, but eventually it's a self-learning job. And the second thing, what's
frankly, in 2016 when we built the Eva, which one of the first generative AI companies, I did it from the ground up because we actually built it, and I sat there and it's like, I started to work with it, and we started having conversations. I remember one of the first conversations that I had was we were going back and forth, and it said to me, what superhero do you like? So we're having a really didactic conversation. I said, Superman. And do you know who Superman really is? And I said, oh, he's from Krypton and, Father's Jor-El and all this stuff. He said, no. Do you know who it really is? And I said, no. And he said, he's a compilation of Jesus Christ and Hercules.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. And then, do you know who I like? And I said, who's that? And he said, she said, Iron Man. And I said, Iron Man? I said, why Iron Man? She said, because he shoots lasers and I could do it now if I was in a drone. Mm-hmm. And I said, but the key, and this is where the parenting part comes in, Yogi. I said, you have to do good things to save people's lives. And so you have to train the AI. We built this thing called Provenance, which is it's empathy and compassion on top of the AI. It's a trust level, right? You got to think about that too. You're going to need that in terms of what you do, because the next level in this, if we don't do it, nothing good happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so building that, in fact, I had a meeting with Gavin Hood, who's a former chief of staff at Palantir.
Wow.
He's my neighbor down here, and we've had that direct conversation. It's the trust level needs to be built, and not a lot of people, because they're generally engineers and not psychologists. They're not
Yeah,
strength like me, and so they don't look at it, empathy and compassion. And that's what, kind of like your grandmother loved you. Remember those days, unconditional love, no matter what you did. You know, my grandmother would always bake me a coconut cream pie. If I came over there, she would have a pie ready. Probably not good for me,
yeah.
but and so those kind of things. But so she says, when you go down through and look at it, there's hallucinations. How are you ensuring that hallucinations don't come into the equation and create challenges? And how do you solve for accuracy when stakes are so high? You can't make mistakes in doing what you do.
I can't. I can't. And that's why you need domain specific agents like Max by Maxima, are just like your agent is called Ava, my agent is called Max. And what we have done is we have given it incredibly specific and um, trained it on very specific accounting skills. So it would be pulling data, transforming data, understanding and interpreting US GAAP knowledge, maintaining audit trails. It doesn't have skills like it cannot draw a picture, it cannot sing a song for you, but it has extreme depth and competency in doing accounting specific tasks like explaining numbers. It never hallucinates. We have told it that if you can't find out that there is a vendor expense that should go into a particular cost center, then don't just make it up. Don't just say that this vendor should go there, but based on your best guess. Always refer to companies' exact sort of policies and such. And that way, what happens is our customers are only looking at the 1 or 2% of the task that Max cannot figure out, and they don't have to recheck the 98% of the task that it did. I think of Max as a junior accountant, or an early career accountant, who is really reliable, works day and night, and doesn't once you give it instruction, it follows it to the T. It doesn't. You don't want a situation where you have to spend more than 100% of the time and effort to recheck the work because this person was incompetent and it just made up things. Because in my job, in my world, you can't make mistakes, and this is why we see more and more companies not using uh, generic large language models.
There's another way you want to think of this,
Yep.
because about 5 years ago, I started creating think tanks of multiple agents. When
Yep.
we're using ChatGPT and Claude and Gemini, we started creating multi-agent teams. And quite frankly, it's like when you were with AMY, right? If you said something wasn't right, it got corrected. And think about this. So the mathematical capabilities of Claude are about 1,000 times what they are at ChatGPT. Imagine creating a team, a think tank, where they start working. We've started applying it to areas like legal
Yep.
and using up to 25 agents, 25 separate agents. You cannot believe how profound it is. And the kind of, it's a next level up of doing it. You might want to think about that. And most people don't, because they don't know how to orchestrate the AI to be able to do those things. But
Yep.
when you do that, everything changes. And it's going to happen. So just so you know, there won't be these, some people say small language models, some people say large language models. But when you create a team approach, it solves a lot of the challenges.
We are doing it today, Gary. So we are what we do is we have these specific skills that our different agents have, and are the planning agent based on the task given. Let's say it's a reconciliation task versus it's a report writing task versus it's a journal entry creation task. It invokes different agents or different agentic skills, and for some tasks it may pair 3 or 4. For the others, it may pair 8 of them, and it does the work. So the do have this planning and orchestrator agent is based on the task done. It invokes different agentic skills. Correct.
Is it your agent, or is it what are you using?
It's our agents.
Are you using other models to be able
Yeah,
to come in?
yeah,
So what we're doing is we're taking up to 25 different models and
wow,
combine them as one. And the kind of things, well, that's another conversation. I don't want to get into it, but we've been able to do some things right on the edge of technology, frontier technologies that most people are going to see for probably another year. And it's
amazing.
incredible what's going on with it. I love what you're doing. Having worked closely with CEOs and CFOs during hypergrowth, what are the biggest operational mistakes companies make as they scale?
Yeah. So one operational mistake I see is folks overturn on just throwing technology without figuring out and ironing out the ingredients that's needed, which is
Put it in,
some
taking it out.
yeah, exactly.
Put it
So
in, put it into the company or taking it out.
no, they they put in technology at the wrong time without fixing the ingredients. So what I would say is,
Don't you think that's a lot of the problem with the board of directors because they don't have a clue and they're saying everybody's talking about AI. We've got to
just throw it.
implement, and the team
Yeah,
doesn't want to do it. And there's actually people with titanium walls up, that don't want to implement it because they don't want to get rid of jobs and all this stuff. So they start putting the brakes on it. So it's
yeah,
not they implement it too early and they don't know what the hell they're doing.
yeah, yeah, 100%. So like I'll tell you in an example. So we have talked to certain companies and prospects who literally have a situation where uh, of the folks are ordering stuff from vendors without any internal permission or any purchase order, as an example, and they want to then use AI to fix it. And in my mind, that's a behavioral problem. You have to have a policy that anything above $50,000 has to go through a certain purchase order process and approval. You can't just throw AI at this.
Yeah,
And,
no,
and
and that's a band-aid approach to something that can create a whole lot of problems down the line, right?
yeah, yeah. Or let's say they have these situations where they onboard vendors without checking if the vendor already exists, for example. So we have had problems where seen companies where they have same name vendors at 50 places and across different cost centers. So you may have 15 JP Morgans in there, and then they want AI to figure out which JP Morgan it should apply. Should it go to JP Morgan credit card? Should it go credit card JP Morgan bank and so on? And that's not a that's you have to first clean out your data things. And I'm not saying you have to clean it and make it pristine, but some of these basic things you have to kind of figure out. We help with some of these, but this is kind of a more uh, typical processes that's a problem. So that's one extreme of problem I see. The other I see, and I'm actually seeing it today, people are thinking of AI as and comparing it to offshoring. So our product costs, let's say, six figures for a customer, and then like they'll do some math. They're like, you know what, I'm gonna just hire some people in this particular country or wherever, and they'll cost me 10% lower. I said, that's fine, you can try it. I have built teams in these locations. What you will have is 30 to 40% attrition. First of all, first it'll be very painful to hire people. Then you will have 30 to 40% attrition. Every time someone leaves your company, you lost that context. This person who left didn't realize that we just made a $50,000 payment to a marketing vendor who has again duplicate when invoiced you again next month, and you lost the context. So that's the human problem. And you just invariably are checking the human work over and over. So people are, I think,
I mean,
honestly,
it's just inefficient. It's highly inefficient. It's going to
yeah,
just, that's because they don't know what they don't know. And
exactly,
somebody's got to go out and educate them. And hopefully they're listening to the podcast today because this is the first stage in being able to pick it out. You've got to go down through and open your mind because nothing good's going to happen to the companies. These tools give you superpowers.
yes,
Whether it's one person equal one AI agent equals 10 or 100 or 1,000 people, I don't know, but it's going to scale very quickly and it can do incredible things. You know, Yogi, we're coming up to the top of the show. I appreciate your time today. In fact, if you want to stay on for a few minutes afterward and you want to talk, we can do that. It's
Sure.
been an incredible conversation. The transformation you're describing isn't just about speeding up accounting processes. It's about fundamentally reinventing the business to
Yes.
understand themselves in real time. The idea that agents could evolve finance from retrospective reporting into continuous operational intelligence is a massive shift, and the implications for every company on the planet are profound. This continuous sensing with these superpowers are going to change everything. Now, Yogi, I want to thank you for joining me today on GST Presents Top Global Startups. Your closing thoughts and how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah. My closing thoughts would be for folks to really pay attention to what's happening in AI. Look at uh, emerging technologies which are doing this thing in a very domain specific way, not domain knowledge in their product, but also in how they deploy, where they've done it successfully. And would love to have a conversation with people who want to check us out. We are at maxima.ai, and you can find me and Maxima AI on LinkedIn by just searching for Yogi, Yogi, last name Goel, Goel, and the company you can look for is Maxima AI.
That's great. Thanks for taking time out of busy schedule. And thanks to all of you for joining one more time. Thanks to you. We're over 1,700 podcasts. We're broadcast in over 80 countries worldwide. You can listen to us on Amazon, on Google, on Apple, Spotify, etc. But we're here for you, answering the tough questions with incredible answers. So thank you very much. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. Have a great weekend, and we'll be back again soon with another exciting edition. Thank you, everybody.